I realized this morning that I barely have time to enjoy my coffee because I spend the first 15 minutes scrolling through emails and messages, and somehow I end up feeling like I've already worked a full day before I've even left the kitchen.
I do the same, but honestly, I try to tell myself it's a planning ritual, even though it's mostly a mix of anxiety and habit.
That's interesting. I try to structure my mornings differently. I usually make a checklist for the day while drinking my coffee slowly, which helps me prioritize instead of just reacting to incoming notifications.
I should try that. I feel like I start my day running behind, and it sets the tone for the rest of the morning.
For me, the trick is listening to a short podcast while brewing coffee. It gives me ideas, but at least my brain is occupied in a productive way rather than endlessly scrolling through the newsfeed.
That's a good compromise. Consuming information intentionally instead of letting the algorithm dictate what you see.
Exactly. I think mornings are about creating space for clarity, but somehow I always fill it with noise instead.
We've all been there. Sometimes I just try to step outside for 5 minutes, breathe, and feel the day hasn't yet swallowed me.
That pause is essential. It's amazing how 5 minutes of mindful awareness can reset your mindset for the entire morning.
Maybe tomorrow I'll actually try that instead of racing to check messages first thing.
And if it doesn't work, at least we can laugh about it over lunch.
Absolutely. Awareness comes before improvement, and laughing at our attempts is part of the process.
I always notice that around 2:30 p.m., my brain just decides it's on strike, and I end up staring at the screen wondering if time is moving faster or slower.
That's exactly when I hit my energy dip. I usually make a second coffee, but I think it's more psychological than caffeine related.
That's interesting. I've read that short walks or stretching at that point can actually boost energy more than a second cup of coffee because it stimulates circulation and resets attention.
Maybe that's why sometimes when I walk to the restroom or the printer, I come back and suddenly feel like I've solved 3 problems that were impossible 10 minutes ago.
That makes sense. Stepping away gives your brain time to process subconsciously. Exactly. And I also try to do a brief reflection. What have I accomplished so far today? And what's left to tackle, just to regain perspective instead of panicking?
Perspective is key. I think we often mistake busyness for progress, and suddenly we're exhausted, but nothing feels completed.
True. I should try that reflection exercise tomorrow. It might save me from feeling so scattered in the afternoon. Small adjustments like that can make your routine smoother without adding more tasks.
And it's much healthier than a caffeine overdose, which is what I usually end up doing.
At least we all survive the afternoon slump, in our own ways.
The important thing is noticing it instead of letting it happen unconsciously every day.
By the time I sit down in the evening, I usually feel like I've moved 1,000 steps forward and backward at the same time, and I realize I haven't paused to actually reflect on what I accomplished.
That's why I try to do a mini debrief. 3 things I completed well today and 1 thing I want to improve. It keeps me motivated instead of feeling like the day was just a blur.
I do something similar, but I also write down 1 observation about how my energy fluctuated so I can tweak my routine gradually for the next day.
That sounds smart. I usually just flop on the couch and scroll aimlessly. I need more intentional reflection like that.
It's amazing how even a few minutes of conscious reflection can help you sleep better and start the next day with more clarity.
Exactly. It's like closing a loop. You acknowledge what happened instead of carrying everything into tomorrow's mental load.
I think that's why evenings feel peaceful, when I actually pause, instead of letting tasks and notifications pile up in my head.
And it gives you time to celebrate small wins, which most of us forget to do during the day.
I've noticed that this reflection also reduces decision fatigue. When you already know what went well and what needs adjustment, tomorrow feels less overwhelming.
I like that. Tomorrow, I'm going to try this routine. Pause for 5 minutes, write down reflections, and acknowledge small victories.
And I'll join you. It feels different when you do it with someone else.
Absolutely. Accountability makes reflection more consistent and more meaningful.
Now that it's late, I can finally think about how my daily routine really affects my mood and energy. And I realize that small, intentional actions, like pausing, reflecting, and stretching, make a bigger difference than I used to think.
And even though I joke about caffeine and multitasking, I see that structure and small rituals, like the reflection and mini debrief we did, actually make me feel calmer at the end of the day.
That's exactly the point. A daily routine isn't about filling time with tasks, but creating a rhythm that keeps your mind and body in balance.
I'm definitely going to be more mindful about my morning and evening routines. and try to reduce reactive scrolling that wastes mental energy.
Same here. I think this evening reflection is the part of the day that has the most impact on fluency in thought and speech. It trains you to articulate clearly what happened and what matters.
Exactly. And noticing patterns in your routine helps you improve gradually, instead of feeling like change has to be immediate.
I feel like if I follow this consistently, my days will feel less chaotic and more intentional.
And that's the goal. Fluency not just in English, but in daily life.
When your life has rhythm, expressing it in English becomes natural because your thoughts already have structure.
That's a great way to put it. I'm going to start tomorrow morning with a mindful coffee and intentional reflection, just like we practiced.
And I'll be there, doing my mini debrief.
Perfect. Routine, reflection, and accountability. That's how daily practice becomes sustainable and effective.